What's the deal with inflation? Find out what it is and how it's affecting all of us on this episode of What's the Deal? Welcome to What's the Deal? I'm your host, Chris Rux. Inflation is a dirty word, and it's not just for basketballs and swim floaties anymore. I spoke with shopping expert Casey Runyan to learn more about inflation and for ways to save even when it seems like everything is costing you more lately. Here's that interview. Thanks for joining me, Casey. We go back a long time. We've been coworkers for almost 11 years. What makes me so fun to be around?
You know, I think that it is your sense of humor and willingness to pick up things from high shelves.
I do take pride in being able to change all the light bulbs. It's nice. Everybody knows their role. That's mine. I'm happy to do it. So we're here to talk inflation. It happens on some level basically every year. What is inflation and why is it hitting so particularly hard this year?
So, there are so many forces combining right now to make this year's inflation bigger than we've seen in decades. The consumer price index is up and everything is costing more. People are having to spend more money on gas. They are having to spend more money on food. They're having to spend more money on housing. And those are things that people can't avoid. You can't get around those expenses. If you need to drive to work, that gas price, whatever it is, you have to pay it.
What's the primary driver there? What's causing for gas prices, for example, to increase so quickly?
That is definitely one for a question more for the experts, but there are a lot of things I think that are conspiring right now from, the supply chain issues that we saw earlier, in the year and at the end of last year, but also the war in Ukraine is definitely having an impact on gasoline prices.
I had seen something recently where it said that we don't buy much of our gas from Russia in the U.S., but because their supply is gone, countries have to get their gas from other places, and so just the global supply drops, and so supply drops, price goes up.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also, I think, those things are all tied to, anxiety and concerns about the future have an impact on the crude oil prices and then filter down to everyday consumers.
How can deals help people get through this? I know Brad's Deals is deals. That's what Brad's Deals does. Brad's Deals does deals. Write that down. Put it on the byline of the website somewhere because I think that's really good. But how can deals get people through this, or can they?
Well, the thing is, you can't avoid, if you go to the grocery store and you're buying, food for your family, you can't avoid the fact that the prices have gone up. You can't change the fact that your housing is more expensive. But what you can control are the other things, some of the non-consumable goods that you're purchasing, and making sure that you're saving money in every place that you can, everywhere where there is an option, making the smartest choice. And right now, prices aren't maybe as competitive as we have seen, in years prior. They're not as aggressively discounted, but any discount you can get right now matters. And that's where Brad's Deals comes in to help you save on all those places where you can save money to help make up for the places where you can't.
It's so true. You may not need new bed sheets right now, but if you do, try to find the best price you can. The few bucks you save there might help offset some of those costs with things like you said, rent, groceries, and gas, with things that you can avoid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
How can people stretch their dollars when inflation has been such a burden?
So as we're heading into spring, I think, this is a season for home improvement is top of mind for many people. And we are, really looking at people wanting to think about updating rather than buying new. So, what can you do with a can of paint? What can you, can you refinish those kitchen cabinets versus doing a whole kitchen remodel? And really, who wants to do a whole kitchen remodel anyway? And just looking at those little ways that you can update, without having to break the bank. I think actually, decluttering and organizing is another great way to make things feel new, even if they aren't. I don't need to I don't need to buy all new stuff for my guest bedroom. I really just need to clean it out and organize it. And, I can, buy a few inexpensive organizers and, get that space back to where it's going to be looking great. And honestly, it's been so long since I've seen all the surfaces in that room. I'm going to be just as thrilled as if I, redid the whole space.
And there's a mental relief aspect to that too, right? Sometimes just the decluttering can help to clear your mind when you don't even realize that it's been affecting you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big change when you realize that I find personally, and I'm somebody who attracts clutter, but like certain areas will tend to sort of get, like, it doesn't start all at once. It's like some things get set here and then it gets more and more and more. And so, it sort of gradually happens. And then when you're able to spend the time and get it organized, it's like, it is, like you said, like a relief. It's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea how bad I'd let this area get, whether it's the mud room or, the utility room. I'm just listing off all the places that I need to reorganize in my house, the places that have become home to too many things and just aren't serving their best purpose right now.
Yeah, save a little money. Don't go on that Zen retreat. Just find a room in your house that needs a little sprucing up and spend some time in there instead. Okay, so I saw this word. What in the heck is shrinkflation? Is it the title of a Seinfeld episode?
I do not know Seinfeld well enough to know that, but I mean, it does sort of sound like it could be. But shrinkflation is when manufacturers change the amount of the product that you are getting without changing what it is called. So, that ultra double roll of paper towels will have a few less sheets of paper towel on it, or a bag of Doritos might have 5 less chips than that same size bag had. So it's a very sneaky way for manufacturers to increase their profits on the product without the consumer hopefully being aware.
Ice cream used to come in half-gallon containers. It no longer comes in half-gallon containers. I'm talking to you, Big Ice Cream. I don't like that. Why did they change? They made it smaller, but they still charge you the 2 for $5 or whatever it is.
Yep. And that's why for consumers, the best advice there is to really pay attention to the per unit cost of something. So, for liquids, you can look at how much is it per ounce, or if you're looking at something like laundry pods, like detergent pods, how many detergent pods are you getting for that price? And work out how much you're paying for each one. How many sheets, how much are you paying per sheet of toilet paper? And that's going to tell you and help you know whether or not you're getting the best deal. And one of the things to be aware of too is that there are different sizes on all of these products, and they are not created equal. So one type of roll of Charmin toilet paper may have, this many sheets of toilet paper in it, and another is going to have a different one. And so you can't just count on, I'm buying an 8 rolls of toilet paper. You really need to dig in there and get that per sheet cost.
And that's not an accident, right? They do that to try to make it harder for you to make an informed decision. So the more you can inform yourself before you get to the store, the easier it's going to be on you.
Yep, absolutely. And that's why research is important and valuable, because they're counting on you to not. And actually, in most grocery stores, you will find a little. If you look closely at the pricing label, there will often be a per unit or per ounce cost, and that's a great way to. And you can also find that when you're shopping for groceries online. That can be a very helpful guide. It's not foolproof, though. I will say this, because I have even encountered instances with toilet paper, specifically, where they have changed the size of a sheet of toilet paper. And you really know that you are a dedicated deal hunter when you are calculating the cost per square inch, as I have done. Some
would call you crazy. You call yourself frugal.
Some might say that I'm, a natural Brad's Deals editor.
Your eccentricities pay off here.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Absolutely.
Good. Yeah, and that's not a bad, like I was saying earlier, that's not a bad tip all the time, right? To compare, especially across two different brands, it's the jumbo size versus the mega size. That doesn't help you tell the story as well as price per ounce or price per inch or whatever. It gives you a better picture.
Absolutely. The first time I was introduced to this concept, I was quite young, and I remember my dad, in the grocery store pointing out to me how the pricing labels had that information. It's a very good practice as a deal hunter, and it also helps you avoid where packaging can be very misleading. If you're looking at 2 bags of chips and you look at, and one of them seems to be much bigger, but you look and the actual weight of the product inside is barely any different. You don't want to, they're counting on you. They're puffing those bags up with air and counting on you not paying attention to that information. So it's, don't let them get the best of you the way they're getting the best of most people.
And they do something similar with serving sizes, I've noticed too, right? It's the family share bag, but it's only, it's this big, and you're supposed to share it with 5 people. Wait a minute, like who sits down, maybe I should, with a bag this big and shares it with 5 people?
Do you remember in the office, we had those, I think they were called fig bars.
Okay.
And they said, I remember I was looking at the nutritional information, and they said that there were 2 servings, and they weren't even like big. Like, what? How is that 2 servings?
I think PopTarts say the same thing. It's a 2-pack of PopTarts. They sell them together, and you're supposed to only eat one. You're supposed to let the other one rot on the counter until the next morning and dry out, but only eat one because that's the serving size, even though they sell them in twin packs. So what else? What else do consumers need to know when inflation is hitting them hard?
I think another thing people are shopping for right now is stuff to spruce up their outdoor space. Last year we saw Brad Steele's record sales for patio furniture. We are seeing a bit of a dip there, and we are seeing more consumers showing up for things like decor, solar lighting, string lighting, maybe even changing out patio cushions and other types of less expensive decor, because you don't need to necessarily replace that set, especially if all of the rising costs right now are impacting you. You don't need to buy a $500, $1,000 patio furniture set. You really can, change up your space with smaller add-ons, and put off, going in for that bigger purchase until it's an easier year for that.
Some lights, a new potted plant, spruce up the place a little bit, just make it feel like a whole new locale without, spending all the extra money.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I love that you brought up gardening. I think it's whether it's, just a little potted plant, or you've got, gardening beds that you're planting, it doesn't have to be hugely expensive. It can be. For sure. It's very, like, if I did everything I dreamed of in my garden, I could easily spend thousands of dollars, no problem. But, I, purchased, maybe, $25 worth of seeds. I've got them started in my little seed starter kit. And, come May, I'm going to be taking those out and planting them. And I will have, fresh, new, exciting things growing in my garden for not a lot of money.
My wife got in the habit, Nikki got in the habit years ago of buying tulips every fall, and then you plant them in the fall, and then they come up in the spring, and it's a fun little surprise. I never thought as a grown man I'd be talking about how much I enjoy seeing the tulips come up every year, but it is a fun little surprise. You plant them in the fall, forget all about it, and then the frost settles, and they grow through the ground, and it's really fun to watch.
When we moved into our house, they had a number of bulbs that had already been planted, and I do love seeing them come up every year. And I hadn't actually been aware of this, but there are actually bulbs that you can plant in spring that are going to come up later in the summer. And so those can often be quite affordable. So that's another great option to check out. You want to look for spring planted bulbs, and, be sure to check out their growing season. But that's another one where if you get the right planting done, you can basically have a garden that's going to regrow every single year without you doing anything more than sort of maintaining it.
You're right, that 1-year investment keeps coming back. And especially like you said, if you plant them so that they grow sporadically throughout the year, it really makes it fun.
Yeah.
Here I am talking about gardening, and I'm very proud of it. But it is, as a homeowner, you start to value different things than you used to, and things that you never knew you cared about until you get your own house and you realize that somebody had to plant all those flowers, somebody had to plant all those plants, and you just kind of think they show up. Well, you have to take care of them, and it makes you feel good when it looks really nice.
If you've got plenty of things growing that you want to grow, you'll hopefully have less weeds to deal with.
Yeah, I made that mistake one time. We had taken some plants out of an area that we were going to replace, and we just never replaced them. I said, you know what, we'll just let it go till next year. And then 3 or 4 weeks later, it was, a weed garden, and it was just a mess. And, we couldn't, it was such a bad idea to try to just let it handle itself, because those weeds come back hard if you don't take care of them.
Well, yeah, and then they're going to spread to everywhere. They're going to spread everywhere else because they're seeding around the area, and so not only in that one area where they're spreading to the other areas as well.
Up next on Chris's Gardening Corner, we're going to be discussing soil samples and how to So what else? What else do people need to know about inflation?
On the topic of spending money and where to save, people are starting to travel again. We have seen over 130% increase in searches for luggage year versus the same time period last year, which really indicates that people are actually getting ready, are really going to travel. They're not just dreaming about it. They're not just looking at the pictures. They're getting ready to go. We are seeing that people are more interested in domestic travel right now, just because there are still some things uncertain. Nobody wants to get trapped in a quarantine hotel overseas for 3 weeks. And so there's a little bit more safety in traveling domestically, which is also actually great for the wallet. And there are lots of inexpensive options. You can do a road trip to a nearby national park, which is a great and inexpensive trip. And even if it's a road trip and gas prices are up, it's still going to be more affordable than flying overseas for sure. The other option that is out there is cruise prices are still low, but we are expecting that could change very quickly. So if cruises are something that you are interested in, now is definitely the time to start looking. Our coworker Mark recently went on a cruise and reported that he was very comfortable with all of the safety measures, that it was less crowded than normal because they are limiting how many people are allowed to sail, and that it was a really good experience. So if that is up your alley, now is a great time to buy.
It seems like there's a strong correlation there. Last year, people were buying, like you said, more patio sets and more of the bigger purchases for the patio because people were staying home. If people are traveling even domestically more this year, then that's likely to drop the prices or drop the purchases of patio furniture and things like that because they're spending their money on travel.
If you are renting a car, you can make multiple bookings and you can keep tracking those prices and trying to find better deals. So go ahead and book early. And even if you want book a couple of places, it's not hard to cancel. So the sooner that you get out there and start checking, and oftentimes you will find a lower price if you keep checking and keep checking. I know not everybody is crazy like me and wants to do that, but you really can actually save quite a bit of money if if you're looking out for it. But I always say get that booking in, rather than waiting and waiting for the deal, because what if it never happens and that price that you could have booked it at is no longer available?
Yeah, if prices don't go down or if the inventory falls off the face of the earth, you already have a car booked, so at least you have something. If you can save a little money by waiting and getting a better price, go for it, but at least you already have, a backup plan.
Also, do you consider non-airport locations for rental cars? You can often get a better deal there. I've also had the experience of having upgrades when I've gone outside of the airport because, sometimes they may have a different supply of cars than what they normally expect at the airport. So you might just get a nice upgrade.
Yeah, they know the majority of people renting cars are going to be renting them from an airport. So if you can, like you said, venture out a little bit further, you're likely to save.
I mean, and you can, jump in an Uber for, maybe $15-20 to get away from the airport. But if you're saving, you could easily save far more than that over the course of a week-long vacation.
Spend $15 once, but you save $20 a day for the next 7 days. It's a no-brainer to venture out a little away from the airport. Awesome. All right. So what else?
I think when it comes to overall spring cleaning supplies. You can actually look for there are a lot of options now to save on the type of supplies that you already have, or that you always need. So things like, if you're normally buying, your spray container, your spray things of household cleaner, of window cleaner, there are now options where you can buy concentrates or tablets that you can actually just put in your old bottle, and they're much cheaper because they don't have the weight. Like my household cleaner, a refill is under $2 for it. Which is much better than the price that I would be paying in store for a new full bottle. And it's also eco-friendly. Looking for ways to save on those smaller things, but also are going to be sort of long-term ways that you can save.
Yeah, to your point, it's a greener choice, right? There's a lot less being thrown away, a lot less waste, because you're not transporting that water across the country when you already have usually an unlimited tap in your kitchen.
Yeah, and I have, probably 4 or 5 more tablets. So that's 4 or 5, full containers, and they all fit into a little dish. So, it's also great for space saving.
See, everything comes back to being Zen and cleaning up your space. All right, well, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate all your insight.
Yeah, I love talking to you, Chris.
Yeah, good talking to you as well. Where can people go? Where should people go? You know the answer. Where should people go?
Yes, go to bradsdeals.com. That's where we're going to be sharing all of the great deals that our editorial team finds, and also be sure to check out our blog, More for Less, which is where we are sharing all kinds of expert tips, tricks, and advice.
Okay, bradsdeals.com. I'll have to check that out. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, Casey, take care.
Bye.
Problem solved. Thanks, Casey. Of course, there's no silver bullet for escaping inflation and its effects on the cost of consumer goods, but special thanks to Casey for all those tips on mitigating the impacts. Special thanks as well to Brad's Deals for sponsoring today's episode. If you liked this episode, like this episode and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for joining me today. See you next time if I can afford the film. I should probably stop shooting on film. Bye, guys.